Ever had a conversation at work that suddenly flips from calm to chaotic? You walk into a meeting thinking it's just another routine discussion, maybe about a project update, a deadline, or even just a quick check-in. Everything feels normal, steady, maybe even boring, and then, out of nowhere, the tone shifts. A simple disagreement turns sharp. Someone raises their voice. Their words get heavier. The energy in the room changes, and it's like everyone feels it at the same time. You're sitting there, heart rate picking up, trying to decide what to say next. Do you respond? Do you push back? Do you just stay quiet? In that split second, your mind starts racing. It's a strange moment, isn't it? One second you're talking about work, and the next it feels like you're caught in an emotional storm. You weren't ready for it, you didn't see it coming, but now you're in it. And here's the thing, most of us don't handle those moments well. Maybe you've been there, trying to explain yourself while the other person talks over you. Or maybe you've been on the receiving end of someone's frustration, and your instinct was to fire back with something just as sharp. And when it's all over, you're left replaying the whole thing in your head, thinking of all the things you wish you'd said differently. And the truth is, it doesn't just happen in meetings or with colleagues. It can happen in quick hallway conversations, in emails that get misread and spark a heated reply, even in one-on-ones with your boss. It doesn't matter how professional or calm you think you are. When emotions rise, the atmosphere changes. Suddenly, it's not about the work anymore. It's about feelings, frustration, disappointment, anger. And if you don't know how to respond in that exact moment, the conversation can go off track fast. Think about it. How many times have you seen a situation where the actual issue was small, but because no one managed the emotions in the room, it turned into something way bigger than it needed to be? A missed deadline becomes a personal attack. A piece of feedback gets taken as criticism. A question about priorities gets turned into a full-blown argument. And all of this doesn't just waste time, it damages trust. It makes people hesitant to speak up the next time. It makes teams less connected, less effective, and honestly less human. And here's what makes it even more frustrating. We're usually good at handling things when we have time to prepare. If someone sends us an email with a tough question, we can take a minute, think it through, and respond calmly. But face to face, in the heat of the moment, that's when our instincts take over. And those instincts, fight, flight, or freeze, don't usually lead to our best communication. That's why these moments matter so much. Because it's not just about getting through the conversation, it's about shaping how people see you. Do they see someone who gets rattled and reacts? Or do they see someone who can stay calm, steady, and keep things moving forward even when emotions are high? That difference is everything. We've all been in that moment where a conversation we thought would stay simple suddenly takes a turn we didn't expect. It could be at work, sitting in a meeting where everyone's giving updates, and then someone pushes back on an idea. At first it feels normal, just different perspectives. But then the volume changes, the tone sharpens, and it's no longer just about the idea on the table. It's about something deeper. You can feel the tension spreading across the room, and before you know it, the conversation has turned into something personal. It's no longer two people talking about work. It's two people defending themselves. And that shift is where so many of us get stuck. The problem is that emotional conversations don't follow the rules of normal discussions. Logic and reason take a back seat the moment feelings get involved. You might have the perfect facts lined up, the best data ready to present, but if the other person is upset, none of that lands. They're not hearing numbers or strategies, they're hearing threat, blame, or disrespect. And if you're honest, when emotions take over, you probably don't hear much either. All you're focused on is protecting yourself, proving your point, or just trying to make it through without saying something you regret. Think about how many times this has happened in real life. A client pushes back hard on a project, and instead of listening, you find yourself scrambling to defend every decision you've made. A boss criticizes something in front of the team, and you feel the heat rise in your chest as you think of a comeback. Or maybe it's a coworker who's clearly stressed, snapping at you over something small, and you feel your patience snapping right back. In those moments, the actual problem isn't the project, the deadline, or the comment. It's the fact that the conversation has stopped being productive. The emotion takes over, and the original issue gets buried under layers of frustration. And here's where it gets tricky. In most workplaces, we're told to stay professional, but no one actually teaches us how to do that when emotions are high. So what do we end up doing? We either bottle it up, hoping the storm passes, or we push back harder, hoping we can force the conversation back into place. But both of those options usually make things worse. When you shut down, the other person feels ignored or dismissed. When you fight back, they feel attacked. Either way, trust takes a hit, and the relationship weakens. The truth is, the problem isn't that conversations get emotional. That's normal. We're human, and emotions are always part of communication. The problem is that we often treat emotional conversations like regular ones, expecting logic to win when logic isn't even in the room anymore. And because of that, conversations that should bring clarity end up creating more confusion. Conversations that should solve problems end up creating new ones. Conversations that should strengthen trust end up leaving cracks that are hard to repair. That's why these moments feel so heavy. Because deep down, you know it's not just about what's being said in the moment. It's about what this moment means for the relationship moving forward. And if you don't know how to handle it, you can walk away from a 5-minute conversation carrying the weight of it for weeks. When a conversation starts running hot, it's easy to feel like you've only got two options. Either you push back and try to win the moment, or you pull away and hope it blows over. But there's actually a third option. One that diffuses the tension without dismissing the person in front of you. And it comes down to using a simple phrase that shifts the energy instantly. I hear you. Let's take a pause so we can come back to this with clear heads. It may sound small, almost too simple, but it works because it does 3 things at once. First, it acknowledges the other person's emotions. When people get emotional, what they want most is to feel seen and understood. By saying, I hear you, you're not agreeing, you're not giving in, you're simply showing them that their feelings aren't being ignored. That's powerful because most emotional reactions only get louder when someone feels dismissed. Second, this phrase sets a boundary. It makes it clear that while you're open to having the conversation, you're not going to have it in a way that's unproductive or harmful. You're protecting yourself and the relationship by refusing to let the conversation spiral. And third, it offers a next step. By saying, let's take a pause and come back with clear heads, you're signaling that this isn't the end of the discussion. It's just a reset. You're keeping the door open for resolution, but on terms that are more constructive. Now, let's break down why this is so effective in real life. When emotions rise, our brains move into fight or flight mode. Rational thinking gets clouded, and all we focus on is defending ourselves. That's why trying to push your point in the heat of the moment usually fails. The other person isn't in a place where they can process it. What they need first is space. This phrase gives them exactly that space, without shutting the door or making them feel like you're running away. It's a pause, not an escape. Imagine being in a heated meeting. Someone across the table is frustrated about a missed deadline. They're raising their voice, clearly upset, and you feel that urge to defend yourself building. Instead of matching their intensity, you take a breath and calmly say, I hear you. Let's take a pause so we can come back to this with clear heads. In that moment, you've shifted the dynamic. You've shown respect for their feelings without letting the conversation explode. You've drawn a line in the sand that keeps things professional, and you've given both of you the chance to re-enter the conversation later when it can actually move forward instead of backward. It's important to note that this isn't about avoiding conflict. Conflict can be healthy. This is about creating the right conditions for conflict to lead to solutions instead of scars. The pause gives space for emotions to cool and for perspective to return. It gives you time to collect your own thoughts so you don't say something reactive. And it gives the other person the same chance. By anchoring the moment with this phrase, you're not just managing the conversation, you're leading it. And that leadership is what makes people trust you, respect you, and want to work with you again. Let's walk through how this looks in real life, because hearing a phrase and actually using it are two very different things. Picture this. You're in the middle of a team meeting. The agenda was supposed to be straightforward. Updates, deadlines, next steps. But then it happens. A teammate speaks up, clearly frustrated. They say something like, "I feel like I'm the only one actually carrying the weight on this project. Everyone else keeps missing deadlines, and I'm left cleaning it up." Their voice is louder than usual, their tone sharper, and all eyes in the room slowly turn toward you. You feel that wave of heat rising in your chest. Instantly, your mind starts to prepare a defense. You want to explain, justify, prove you're not the problem. Maybe you even want to point out their mistakes. That's the natural response. But here's where everything changes. Instead of reacting with the first thought that comes to mind, you take a breath. You look at them, not with judgment, but with steadiness, and you say, "I hear you. Let's take a pause so we can come back to this with clear heads." For a second, the room feels frozen. The tension that was rising has nowhere to go because you didn't feed it. You didn't throw more fuel on the fire. What you did was acknowledge the frustration, set a boundary, and give everyone a chance to reset. That simple phrase shifted the energy of the entire meeting. Now let's rewind and imagine what would have happened if you'd chosen the usual path. Say you snap back with, "Well, I'm busy too. You're not the only one working hard." The volume goes up, defenses rise, and suddenly it's not about the project anymore. It's about proving who's right. Everyone else in the room feels the tension, and now the meeting has derailed. What could have been solved in 5 minutes will now take days of repairing trust. That's the difference one phrase can make. And this isn't limited to team meetings. Think about a one-on-one with your boss. Maybe they're under pressure from higher ups, and that pressure spills out in how they speak to you. They're short, irritated, pointing out mistakes more harshly than usual. Your instinct might be to shut down and just nod along, but inside you're boiling. Instead, imagine calmly responding with, "I hear you. Let's take a pause so we can come back to this with clear heads." That response doesn't disrespect their authority, but it also doesn't let the moment spiral. It tells them you're willing to engage, but not in a way that makes the problem worse. Even outside of formal meetings, this works. A client on a call who feels their expectations aren't being met. A coworker who storms into your office upset about miscommunication. A quick hallway interaction that suddenly turns tense. In every one of those situations, the instinct to defend or shut down only deepens the conflict. But using this phrase creates space. It signals control without aggression. It tells the other person you're here, you're listening, but you're committed to having the conversation in a way that actually solves something. And the best part is, the more you use it, the more natural it feels. The first time, you may have to remind yourself not to snap back. The second time, you may feel the pause stretching longer than you'd like. But over time, it becomes a habit, a steady, grounded way of handling moments that used to feel overwhelming, and people notice. They start to see you not as someone who avoids hard conversations, but as someone who can handle them with clarity and calm. That changes the way they approach you. That changes the way they trust you. That changes the way they follow your lead. The truth is, conversations will always carry emotions. You can't control that. You can't stop someone from being frustrated, from being disappointed, or from letting their stress spill into their words. What you can control is how you choose to meet that moment. And that choice, how you respond when the room feels heavy, will define more about your influence and leadership than almost anything else you do. Because people don't just remember the numbers you present or the tasks you complete. They remember how you made them feel in the moments when things got tough. They remember if you were the steady hand when everything else felt unsteady. Think about it this way. Every heated conversation is an opportunity. It's a chance to either let the moment break trust or let the moment build it. And building trust doesn't come from having the smartest answer or the sharpest comeback. It comes from showing restraint, from creating space, and from reminding everyone that emotions don't have to derail progress. When you're able to pause the storm, even for a moment, people begin to see you differently. They see someone who can carry weight without dropping it, someone who can keep focus without losing composure. That's the kind of presence people rely on. And here's the part most people don't realize. Your calm doesn't just help you, it spreads. When you hold steady, it gives others permission to steady themselves too. The tension in the room eases, the tone softens. What could have turned into an explosion becomes a reset. And in that reset, people are able to come back together and actually solve the problem. That's the power of one phrase used with intention. It's not about silencing others or avoiding conflict. It's about guiding the conversation back to a place where real progress can happen. Over time, these moments stack up. Colleagues begin to expect that you're the one who won't lose control. Leaders begin to trust that you can handle pressure. Clients begin to sense that you won't let emotions get in the way of results. And even beyond work, in your personal life, the same principle holds true. Friends, partners, family members, they all notice when you can keep your composure in moments that feel overwhelming. And that doesn't just change how they see you. It changes how you see yourself. You start to trust your own ability to handle pressure. You start to recognize that you don't have to match the volume in the room to have influence in the room. Because influence isn't about who talks the loudest. Influence is about who brings clarity when everything feels unclear. And every time you choose to pause, to acknowledge, and to redirect, you're proving to yourself and to others that you can be that person. You're proving that conversations, no matter how emotional, don't have to control you. You can guide them. And when you learn to guide them, you don't just change the outcome of that moment. You change the way you show up in every room, every meeting, every relationship. That's where the real shift happens.